Hi there. Welcome to yet another episode of What's Brewing with CIM. My name is Shamil Akbar. I'll be your host for the day. And joining me is the ever so beautiful, the ever so famous Stephanie Siriwardhana. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Shamil. You're too kind. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Likewise. So we are looking forward to a great discussion on a lot of topics because, as you know, Stephanie wears a lot of hats. Entertainer, has hat collection. So entertainer, performer, singer, to now a business founder, and not to forget your humanitarian work. With especially a upcoming mental health campaign. We'll talk all about it. This is going to be a quick podcast. We will not take, say, more than 30 minutes, probably less, depending on how crisp we will get things across. First things first. So, Stephanie, one of your latest ventures is in the Web3 space as a business founder. How are things? What's the latest in that front?
Well, it's exciting. I had to send myself back to uni to re-educate myself. So I first started with doing a master's in business psychology. Then I was also one of the first females to go to Tim Draper's University. He's a huge VC venture capitalist. I learned so very much, and it was awesome that my company was selected by him as top 5. One of the top 5 companies. So we're slowly building. I have a fantastic CTO. He's the best. Great co-founder. And we're very excited, but we will be doing our official launch soon.
All right. So this is the soft launch before the official launch.
It's in the Web3 space.
Okay.
So that much I'll tell you.
All right. Okay. Congratulations on your new venture.
Thank you.
So interesting. Now, even I hold a bit of a business psychology master's. Exactly. I didn't know that bit about you.
Twinsies.
However, now this is where things get very interesting
Okay.
to see how do you link psychology with what you do? Because none of us would call ourselves psychologists or business psychologists. So as a person who has a hat collection, who wears multiple hats, where do you bring it all together?
Do I plug in my psychology?
Yes. Where do you plug in your psychology? Where you plug in your understanding of principles of marketing and so on? Where do you bring it all together?
Well, it has to be brought into every single thing you do. Because when you talk about psychology, every business is made up of people. Who are you selling to? People. Who are your staff? People. And people all have similar feelings. And you need to know how to handle people. You need to know how to understand people. Marketing is all about people management, and it's about knowing your audience. How do you make them feel something? That's the most important thing. So psychology is about everything. You need to know people's humanness. You need to understand and have emotional intelligence in order to be truly successful, because at the end of the day, if you really get down to it, that's what marketing is.
So while you speak of marketing, you are known to be a person who is very eloquent with whatever you say. You're good with your language.
Oof, you're too kind.
And I think I would
Pressure is on, guys.
I would like to link it with a word that you said. You said understanding how a person feels.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good way to sort of bring us into this whole concept of marketing, because when we say marketing, we often think it's about promoting a brand or building a brand. But right at the root of it, I personally believe it is how you make a person feel. And that is where even feels like psychology come into this.
Of course.
Starting with your brand, Stephanie Siriwardhana, how did you think of that? Probably earlier on in your life, was there a moment when you realized, okay, I need to be known for this?
What I genuinely think is your branding has to be authentic. In order for it to be authentic, if you're talking about a personal brand, you need to know who you are, what your values are, what you stand for. Because even though your platforms may change, even though the places you go, the products you go, that authenticity in who you are has to be translated and be consistent. So that's very important. So for me, I guess I was blessed. I had a mom from my childhood who always told me, have the courage to be different and have the courage to be who you are. So it's not like when I first won Miss Sri Lanka that I was thinking, what's my brand? I wasn't thinking that. I just wanted to be as authentic as I was. But as I kind of evolved, educated myself, learned, I understood, you see, whether you know it or not, everyone has a personal brand. You just need to know who's in control. Is it you who's controlling your branding and your messaging and the associations made with you? Or are you just letting everyone else do that based on the social media, based on how you present yourself? So you need to, I think it's very important for each person to understand that whether they like it or not, they're being branded. And it's time for you to control that narrative and make sure that it is authentic to who you are as a human being. And make sure it's a bit difficult, but I would say the first step to really figuring out your personal brand, I know it's a bit morbid, but I always say, imagine your eulogy at your funeral. How do you want to be remembered? What really matters to you? It kind of puts things in perspective. Because when I thought that I had a near-death experience, that really helped me with my branding. And I didn't die. I survived, thank God, because of God's grace. But then I thought, okay, how do I want to be remembered? For me, I really want to be remembered as somebody who made people smile, who alleviated people's burdens a little, so that when they think, oh, Stephanie, you know what? She made me smile. She made my burden a little lighter to carry. She made me happy. That for me was the most important thing. Because also when you go back to marketing, it's not about what you do. That people will never remember. There's that famous quote, right? People will never remember what you do, but they will remember how you make them feel.
100%.
And that's what it all boils down to. So I think those are little ways that people can look into their own personal branding, but also have a great understanding of what marketing is. And that's where psychology plugs in. It's about feeling. It's about emotions. It's about human beings.
100%. And I always realized, because when we start learning about marketing at surface level, that is never the case. But when you really dive deep into the subject, you see how it all comes together, how it's deeply linked to human behavior, aka psychology, how it is also deeply linked to understanding a business and using your purpose or the way you make people feel or whatever that is that drives you, your uniqueness. And I think in marketing, we have this term, the unique selling proposition.
The USPs.
The USPs, and that is essentially what I asked you. What do you want people to remember you as? How do you brand yourself?
Yeah.
So then moving on to how you get this done. So now you have 3 things that you want people to remember you.
Yeah.
And one thing that the strongest thing is that I want people to be remembering me as a person who made them smile.
Yeah,
That's what you said. So how do you bring it to life?
You see, when you, how do I put this? When you know your why, I think you said the most important word. And I think a lot of people take a long time finding what their purpose is. The minute you know what your purpose is, and you also said your uniqueness. Every single human being is unique, right? And they need to find out, what was I brought here for? Why am I here? It's an existential question. And so for me, I was a bit lucky. I always knew what my passion was. And it was always gravity. Like as a kid, I wanted to have an orphanage. Like that was my dream. I wanted to be the owner of an orphanage who just gave love to kids. And it's only through a lot of work a couple of years ago, I realized, even though I've been in the humanitarian space for like over 12, 14 years now, even more, I realized it's my purpose. So when you realize what your purpose is, the how becomes everything you do. You learn how to plug it in to everything, because that authenticity, that truth never changes. It is just the way in which the strategy that you use changes from platform to platform, whatever hat you're wearing. But that authenticity of what your purpose is, it gets plugged in different ways, but it stays intact. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
good. It does.
Yeah. Okay, I was just checking.
So I think then when you talk about it, because it's one thing of what you do, right? And also when you present it, it needs to sort of communicate the purpose with it.
Yeah.
And I think, like I told earlier, you have found that right balance, because some people, they leave aside doing, they do the selling and the talking.
Yeah.
Some people just do the doing and say, okay, look, I'm not worried about whatever people think of me. as in I kick my personal brand away. I just want to do what I do.
Yeah.
So when you find the balance, now I believe something like a storytelling will definitely come in handy. So when given an opportunity to express yourself, even a podcast of this sort, how do you bring in elements of storytelling? How do you sort of communicate your purpose in the form of a story?
I think storytelling is the most powerful tool we have, Shamil, because we all have stories. People feel things when they're able to relate to stories. And also, another thing is, I feel that being truthful, being vulnerable, being human, those kind of stories are the most powerful stories. You know, let's take a product. The minute you humanize a product, like the minute you instill or associate a feeling with that. Now for example, a jewelry brand or let's take Nike. What does Nike sell?
Just they sell.
Yeah.
They sell shoes.
Right. And what's
Sportswear.
correct? But what is their association?
Just do it.
That's their tagline.
Mhm.
What are they selling? They're selling the feeling of victory. That's what they sell. When you look at Disney, right? What is Disney selling?
Happiness.
Exactly. Right?
You feel happy
Yeah.
when you hear Disney.
A jewelry brand, a suit brand, a clothing brand, what do they sell?
Prestige.
Confidence.
Confidence. Yes, yes.
Exactly. So that's important. Those are all feelings, and that comes from storytelling. That's why you have Nike having videos of Olympic athletes, and they stay consistent with their brand. And this is something so interesting. I loved one of their billboards because it was so consistent with their branding. The minute they knew what their associations had to be, right? They made sure that all their communications, all their content stayed authentic and truthful to that purpose, right? So for example, they had a billboard that said, "You don't win silver, you lose gold."
Oh, okay.
Did you see that one?
I've not.
I thought it was fantastic. I was like, oof, because they're talking about, no, we want gold, we want victory. That's what Nike is.
Just go for it.
Yeah. Like you can do it. So I really love that. Consistency and storytelling, that's how you get it across. Those videos that make us feel something, those sharing, like when I talk about, let's say, for example, my humanitarian work, what sells most to touch people's hearts are their stories. The stories of humanness. When I tell you about, a lady who had to steal an aviary of bananas or 10 coconuts to feed her child and ended up in prison and say, I need you to help me help them. The minute you understand her story, you feel, oh, she did it because, not everyone's there for different reasons. I'm just giving you one example. That storytelling helps you connect, truly connect emotionally, right? And once that happens, that's where, when it comes to a product, or like marketing in a commercial sense, that's why it sells. So storytelling is everything because you are selling to humans, right?
And without that story of the example you laid out of the prison, the lady who had to steal to feed her family, if you would just keep on doing what you do, people will say, okay, I have no idea why Stephanie doing or what Stephanie doing in a prison.
Yeah, correct.
What's the point? These are all convicts.
I did stay silent for a long time because I was definitely the second person. Let me just do what I do and people don't need to know because it was my passion. But the day I found out through my own mental health journey, my passion became my purpose because my pain gave me my passion. So my story was such that I had all these things happen to me as a kid, which we're talking about in my mental health campaign, which is a national one called ICU. Actually, Barista is our partner as well. And we're very proud and happy for that. So my passion stemmed from my pain, but then my pain became my purpose. And
you had to tell it again. It's a lot of peace. My passion stemmed from my pain.
correct.
My pain
became my purpose.
My pain became my purpose.
And my passion became my purpose.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice slogan.
I think so, but I haven't. I guess I should figure out how to put it in a less confusing way.
Right. So I think a recurring theme in this discussion so far is passion, authenticity
Yes.
and how do you say it? And that's something we've covered in terms of
And I
storytelling.
think how you say it also depends on, like in marketing, your target market. Who are you speaking to? You need to know your audience. You need to know how they think. You need to understand how they relate to things. The way you market to a Gen Z is very different to how you relate to maybe someone, who's a baby boomer. So you need to know your audience. And that's something I learned a lot in my hosting. You need to gauge the audience. You need to feel. You need to feel the vibe, feel the energy in the room, read the room, as they say, and you have to pivot your message and your messaging and the way you and your delivery according to that because you want it to hit, right? So that's also very important. Just learning how to read emotions.
What about people would say, okay, no, look, my message will sell. I don't care about what a person in the audience think about. That's too much of work for me. Where do you see now, especially as a people person, how do you sort of read an audience? Where do you see it's the relevance of pivoting from audience one to audience two?
I mean, I'm sure there will be some people that it'll hit home to, but it depends on how successful you want to be, right? If you have 100 people and you're like, I don't care, and you speak and only like 30% of them are like you and they get it, you've left out 70% of the people, and you're not going to have that reoccurring, let's say you have a conference or it's trying to sell something else to the same people, you're going to have people dropping out because they don't relate to it. They feel like, I don't get it. So it depends on how much of the target market or how much of the market you want to retain, because retention is huge.
One thing that we agreed, Stephanie and I, is that we are not going to stick to a scripted set of questions. We are just going to let the conversation flow.
Yes.
And as part of this, I get an idea because you said authenticity earlier on.
Yes.
And then we also spoke about how you should start tailoring your message to your audience.
Yeah.
Could someone argue saying, look, I am my authentic person. I have one way of communication. When I have to tailor my message to different audiences, it feels like I'm acting and that is not my authentic self. What do you say about that?
So you see, then you need to know who your authentic self is. Communication is a skill, whether it is verbal, non-verbal, and also as a corporate trainer. I'm a corporate trainer. They teach us there are different ways people remember and retain things. Is it visual? Is it auditory? Is it kinesthetic? Is it like by touching, feeling? So you need to know the different ways people learn, people absorb, right? And communication is not something we're born with. It's a skill you learn. So it's just your skill, like a pencil, needs to keep being sharpened every time you use it. So when you say this is my authentic self, if you think your authentic self is your communication skill, I don't really agree with that, because you can always be a better communicator. You can always be a more effective communicator. The more you educate yourself, the more you practice. If you watch the movie The King's Speech, he had a stutter, and he got trained on how to be a great orator. So that's not his authentic self. He's trying to speak to his people, right? His nation. So your authentic self, in my opinion, are your values, your principles, your beliefs, what you stand for, what you stand against. That's what makes up who you are as a human being. Where you draw that box, it's not the different labels that people put on you. So yeah, I think that should be thought about a little bit, because it's not that you're not being your authentic self if you're talking about your communication skills.
100%. I think it's something I wanted to hear from your words.
Did I pass the curveball test?
Yes, I think you did. I think authenticity is beyond simply what you say. If you are mature enough to believe that saying isn't everything.
Yeah.
Saying is part of your purpose.
But it's important to sharpen that skill. It's the same reason. Why is it that when you go for a job interview, you want to make sure your shirt is nicely pressed? First impressions count. We are human beings. Human beings judge. Whether they like it or not, people subconsciously make an impression of you. They have an idea of who you are. So I told you, you need to control your brand. And for that, you practice, you learn. I mean, I was a very shy person. I never spoke. I was someone who kept all my thoughts to myself. I was so insecure. This is me being able to sit in front of you like this and speak is a skill I worked on and I sharpened and I practiced and I failed many times, said terrible things many times. I still make so many mistakes, but I keep learning. So it's about keeping on enhancing and knowing those are my tools to make sure I'm an effective communicator to get my message across, and my message is attached to my purpose and my purpose is attached to my passion. So yeah, it's all interconnected.
This links me to my next theme of questions about point A to point B.
Yeah.
You are a very shy person.
Yeah.
And look where you are here.
Yeah.
How does the journey happen?
Sorry.
It is of course continuous improvement, but how does it happen day in, day out? And how is it relevant to anyone listening to this podcast? Maybe we'll start with your experience. What did you do? And then there will be learnings to our audience as well.
So, first of all, I have to tell you, growth is difficult. Growth is painful. Growth is not easy. And growth never happens in comfort. You have to step out of your comfort zone. And you have to be willing to say, I can be better than who I am today. I know I can be better than that, because that's a commitment. And that's a commitment you make day in, day out, whether it's signing up for a course, whether it's going for therapy, whether, it's daily affirmations, whatever. And I did all of those. I sent myself to get educated again, and I've been studying, and I'm just finishing off my NLP and life coach certification under the International Coaching Federation. It's a work in progress. I went to therapy. I was in intense therapy. I started therapy when I was 14 years old, thanks to my mom. Initially, I was like, I'm not crazy. What are you saying? But I worked on myself day in, day out. I also did my own social experiments. It was really cool. So I would go dancing, and I was a bit, I'm not a skinny girl, let's just say that. And so I would go and I would let all my insecurities make me feel terrible. And I'd be like, oh, I'm not pretty, I don't know how to dance, blah, blah, blah. And then I would notice nobody asked me to dance. So then I thought, okay, let me change my mindset. And I hyped myself up. I was like, oh my God, you are the most beautiful thing. You're the best dancer in the house. Totally hyped myself up, even though I didn't believe half of the stuff I was saying. And suddenly everybody started asking me to dance. I was like, oh my God, this cannot be a coincidence. Because I was trying to understand human behavior, right? I wanted to know how to engage with people. And these are skills I use up to today, by the way. So these are things I learned through little things. And then what I did was, on one day, I started alternating. So I would go out dancing, like salsa dancing, because I was a trained dancer and I used to perform around North America. So there's something called social dancing. Yes. And I used to go there. And so I would go, and within one night, I would alternate between letting my insecurities eat me up, and then no one would ask me to dance. And then I would hype myself up, and suddenly everyone would ask me to dance. So I realized the energy you put out is what you attract. So you have to work on your mind. It's so important. I think it all stems from that. Even knowing who you are, it stems from your mind. Because we all have a negative inner voice. I did. Many of us go in front of the mirror and we only see, suddenly I forgot the English word, it came in Sinhala.
Perfection.
Adupadu.
Shortcomings. Shortfalls.
Oh my God. Does this mean I'm becoming a Sinhalese speaker officially?
We're all Sri Lankans.
No, I know. That's amazing. My brain is thinking in Sinhala. How exciting. So we think of our shortcomings. When is it that we go in front of the mirror and say, okay, this is nice, this is nice, this is nice, and take a proper, just, honest assessment? The minute we try to apply for something, the minute we try to do something, there's a voice in our head that says, you're not good enough, you're not going to do this, you're not going to be able to do that. So that has to be controlled a bit. And that's how I got from point A to point B, by working on my mind, by educating myself, by daily affirmations. I had a fantastic therapist, and also being curious. You need to be hungry to grow. You need to put yourself in the most uncomfortable situations where you never want to be. Like, you know, I wasn't always a singer. I started as a host, right? And first I was a Miss Sri Lanka, then I became a host. Then I was not a singer, I was a bathroom singer. Dushan told me, hey, there's an audition for the South Asian version of Phantom of the Opera. Go audition. I was so insecure. I said, no way. I only sing in the bathroom. He said, just try it. I did. I was rejected. They said no. And then Dushant, he believed a good circle is very important. Good hype men and women in your life are so important. People who believe in you and see you even when you can't fully see yourself, having that good circle is so important. And just one more note on that. About 80% of people in prison, when I was interviewing, I've interviewed over hundreds of prisoners. One thing they all said, my friends influenced me, and a lot of them ended up in prison because of their friend choice. So be careful with that. That's my side note of the day. But going back to what I was saying, so Dushant kept believing in me and said, no, call them back and tell them to give you a chance. So I did. I was like, can I prove to you that can I be an understudy? And it was Jerome. Jerome's very strict. So he was like, I have 3 understudies. I don't need another one. And then I was like, okay, Jerome. And then Dushan was like, ask him to be an ensemble girl. I was like, okay, I'll be an ensemble girl. Anyway, finally he said yes. And because I ended up, finally I proved myself to him. I worked very hard. You need to work hard. That's one thing. You need to have consistency. You need to be dedicated. There are sacrifices you're going to have to make. Like when I was practicing for Phantom, I was the first to come, the last to leave. I never took a break because the break was the only time everyone would leave and I'd have the speaker to practice by myself. So I worked really hard and I finally became Christine with the leading role in Phantom. And I did 4 nights. And after that, people started calling me to sing. And I was very uncomfortable. And I used to tell them, no, I'm not a singer. But Dushan took the phone and me like, yes, of course, tell us the details. We'll do this. And until I was comfortable, he helped me there. And then it opened up an entire stream, an entire vertical for me to have income. I get flown to different parts of the world to sing now. Wow. Yeah, I have a show coming up in New York. I have shows in London, US, Dubai, Canada. So I travel now because I put myself in such an uncomfortable situation. That's how Stephanie the host became Stephanie the dancer. And the singer, sort of, so it's by growing, having that curiosity and managing your fear. Courage is having your fear, but still in spite of it, going forward. Yeah. And have that, because then you grow and then you're able to go from point A to point B. It was a very long-winded answer for your short question. I'm so sorry.
No problem. So I think they say growth happens when you make yourself uncomfortable. I think that's a very nice gist for everything that you said, going through hardship. And I myself am a bathroom singer. I try to be one. So maybe the road is not over yet.
Of course not. Everyone can sing and dance. I truly believe that.
Okay.
I really do. It's just your fear of judgment, your fear of letting people see you and maybe thinking, oh, I might be off note. I don't know how to sing. It's your insecurities that most of the time, and not listening, that prevent people from actually singing. If not everybody, I believe, can sing.
Interesting. So I'm not a dancer, but my wife says, okay, look, anyone can dance. And now you're saying that. So, well, you never know. You might next see Shamil the dancer.
The singing dancer.
Oh, the singing dancer. Wow. Okay.
Exactly.
So final question for all of this is, look, there's a lot that we do underneath the surface. Now, what people see as Stephanie is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot underneath, and you mentioned some key themes as curiosity, doing things daily, practices, reflection, thinking about yourself. How important is that even in building a brand?
Like self-love, self-care, and doing all the sacrifices? How important?
Or even a corporate brand. How?
I mean, doing the hard work is always important. If not, you don't get anywhere. Right? People only see the lovely packaged, it's like that Instagram trend.
Stephanie and say, okay, I want to be a Stephanie. Or I want to be a Dushyant. Or I want to be, I don't know, anyone that you would like.
Yeah.
So, but what they don't see is the painstaking effort of reflecting, working on your curiosity and doing it day in, day out.
Yeah.
Especially for, say, a young marketer or a young human being looking at this. What would be your advice?
You can't get anywhere if you're not afraid, if you're not ready to do the hard work, to be very honest with you. We barely sleep, which is not healthy, trying to get into a good routine. But whatever your dream is, whatever your passion is, whatever product you're selling, you need to do the work. You need to know your target audience. You need to perfect your product. You know, if it's a company you have and you have a platform, or like I do, you have multiple iterations of the same product until you perfect it. You know, you need to do market surveys. You need to do that stuff so that you know exactly how to grow it, how to scale it, how to sell it, how to get people to come back if it's a subscription or whatever. You know, the retention that we spoke of, you need to do the hard work. But the thing is, it comes from your character. I enjoy doing that. It is not something difficult for me. I mean, I struggle because I'm tired. I struggle because I have, you know, issues that we're dealing. We all do. We have our stories. Like, life doesn't wait for anyone. Time goes. You know, I'm sure many people here have, while trying to be the perfect corporate, the perfect marketer, the perfect human being, we can never be perfect, first of all. I'm sure you've had days where you've gone and, you know, locked yourself in a bathroom somewhere and just cried your heart out and thought, oh my God, I can't do this. We all have that. But then you put on your shiny clothes, get on stage, and you say, this is me. So this is that packaging that people see. But behind the packaging, when I'm falling apart, or when we all have those moments that life gets to us, you know, whatever circumstance it may be, you need to assess it, you need to process it, you need to heal from it, you need to still do that hard work to push yourself up, to be able to wear the shiny clothes and go on stage. So if you make it a lifestyle, if you're hungry, if that curiosity is there, that want and hunger to grow is there, you're going to enjoy the ride. It's not going to be something that you're, oh my God, with great difficulty and, you know, sacrifice. It'll be something you enjoy. It'll be something that excites you. It'll give you a reason to wake up every day to be like, oh my God, today's going to be an awesome day because I have something new to learn from somebody out there. I'm just waiting to know who that person is, you know. That's one thing. Always be ready to learn. And that's where the storytelling comes in. You know, I always try to learn from people. And to do that, you need to hear their stories.
Yeah.
And it is through them that you will also learn some of the knowledge that they have. And you know, it's important. And when you have idealized people, or even if you have a competing brand, what are their stories? What can you learn from their stories? So yeah, you got to love the hard work.
And with me, I don't have one single role model. It's multiple people that I keep learning from, and I build myself from whatever learnings, and how do I adapt it to myself.
Yeah.
So it all starts with your purpose, your passion,
Yeah.
and the pain that you are willing to put yourself through to achieve, starting from building your personal brand,
Yeah.
to even building a corporate brand that you achieve, which you're now doing both.
Yes.
So good luck in all your future endeavors. And we spoke about a lot of things in a very short time period.
Yeah.
So I believe that our audiences, whichever industry, whichever sector that you're from, you would have a thing or two to pick up from this.
Sure.
Of course, you can never be a copy of Stephanie Siriwardhana. I don't think we want them to be that.
Nobody should ever be a copy of anybody.
Yes, even if we absolutely adore that person, you can never be that. It's always to see what do you want to pick up from this person to my life. And then build on that, thrive on it, and there you go.
And also, it's about falling in love with your uniqueness. Just tying back to how you started this. Every single human being, you're perfect the way you are. You are made, you know, this is a quote I absolutely love. It's by Marianne Williamson. I don't know if I can quote it fully by memory, but it goes, our deepest fear is not our darkness. Our deepest fear is our light. We think, who am I to be fabulous, amazing, you know, wonderful? Actually, who are you not to be? You know, it says you are God's child. You are not, you playing small does not serve the world, you know. And when you liberate yourself, you automatically give others the permission to liberate themselves and shine at their brightest. I completely did not quote that right, but go check it out.
Gist of it.
Yeah. And the easiest way to say it is the human being that you're in the bathroom, that confident, amazing person that you are in the bathroom, that's who you need to bring. Get out of the bathroom and bring to the world, because people need to see the unique you, and when you are truly yourself and you have done the work to find what your purpose is, you're unstoppable. You can market anything once you know your humanness, where you're coming from, the why. That why is so important. Why am I doing this? That goes back to our first question. So yeah, don't try to be anybody else other than yourself. Try to be the best version of yourself. Actually, that's the name of my corporate training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the best version of you.
The best version of you. And I think
Yeah.
that's a perfect note for us to sort of sum up all of this and come to a conclusion. That was
Yeah.
a lovely discussion.
I hope so.
Thank you for being with us, and I learned a lot. Especially with perspective thinking and where does it all come together, and I hope and believe that our audience did the same. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Shamil.
Thank you.
It was lovely talking to you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
We'll catch up soon.
And neatly when you're singing and dancing.
Yeah. Well, yes. Why not? Thank you, guys. With that, we wrap up yet another episode with What's Brewing with CIM. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll catch you soon.